welcome Professor Kerstin Fink, Rector of the Salzburg University of Applied Sciences. Her presentation is also very interesting. It's about stakeholder management in the tourism industry, a very, very important issue. Please, Professor Fink, can we have your presentation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to say a warm welcome to my colleague, Professor Eva Werner, dear Mr. Ecker, dear Mr. Maurer, dear students, dear participants at the conference. As Rector of the Salzburg University of Applied Sciences, it is a pleasure to host the first student conference here on tourism research. Starting from yesterday, we even have the sun in Salzburg, no raining, no clouds. So especially for you, we are preparing to have a wonderful, delighted and sunny conference. Tourism itself is well established the last years in our study programs. We are talking about tourism and innovation management. We are international connected. We have international cooperation partners trying to get different views on the area of tourism. When I first started and got the questions, how can I do a short presentation here, I said, well, I'm not coming from the tourism area. I'm Professor for Information Systems at the University of Innsbruck. So the only knowledge I can give in this area is trying to exchange with you some thoughts about the impact of information system to the tourism area. And I did many times research on stakeholder information management for small and medium-sized enterprises, since Austria is primarily affected by small and medium-sized enterprises. So I thought, well, let's try to do a shift, to do a knowledge transfer to the area of tourism. First of all, I will talk a little bit what is stakeholder management in general, then switching over to the tourism area, giving you some example and conclusions, and then open for questions. In general, the stakeholder management itself is nothing very new. Going back to the 1990s, we have Freeman as one of the major initiatives of stakeholder management. He was professor at Stanford University in California, USA, trying to see the world a little bit different. Before that time, we were often focused only on shareholder value. How can an organization, how can a company making profit, having the idea of making money, making profit in the center of consideration? Switching right now, we have to broaden up to get a more generic view of the world, trying to consider other stakeholders, trying to consider, for example, the media, the customers, the competitors, the suppliers. So what Freeman said, we have two major issues trying to be responsible for a broader view, taking different views into consideration, and by doing so, adding different values to a company or an institution. So looking at his first research in 1984, he had a definition of stakeholder. It sounds for us right now very simple, but still, so many years ago, it was a high impact from the switch of shareholder value to stakeholder value. Stakeholders is any group or individual who can affect or is affected by the achievement of an organization's purpose. So trying here to really set up a broader view, trying to take a large group of different views, different values into consideration. My colleague Eva Werner was talking about internationalization in Bologna. Bologna is only working if it has different views into the process. Since we have settled right now with the Bologna process, trying to see about student mobility, we have in the future, as she stated, to see what else can we do for internationalization, what other stakeholders has to take into consideration in order to get a broader view also of internationalization. Taking this basic framework of stakeholder management, we then have to ask, okay, we have a management theory, so what? We have to continue a little bit further in saying we have to analyze our stakeholders. Stakeholder analysis is first step in doing really designing an information system. Who are our stakeholders? What are the values of our stakeholders? What are the objectives of our stakeholders? What do our stakeholders want from us? Do we have competitors in the stakeholder management? So many questions really trying to analyze the view of the stakeholders. If you really go into detail for all the stakeholder theory and analysis is a very time-consuming mechanism or management theory when you try to come to a solution. You have your first stakeholders, the one who are most important. You have secondary stakeholders who are not as important but may have a high impact on your value, on your competitiveness, on your making money. So in general, there is a very complex view and stakeholder view. I just want to sort of narrow it down to three major areas of views we have to take. First of all, we can say we take it from a very rational view. Just focusing what is the impact of a stakeholder to my company, and if you want to narrow it down from the rational view, what are our shareholders trying to influence our profit. On the second view, you can open up more on a process world, process modeling, which is very common in information systems theory. How can we model information, knowledge in general from a process view? So there are many steps, many views where you can see an organization more from a generic for a systematic view. And finally, you can say it on a very global area, transactional perspective, trying to get everybody involved, meaning in the same time needing time, money to do a stakeholder analysis, and having the commitment from top management also to do a stakeholder management. I've been in many international projects doing stakeholder management, and the key issue why it sometimes didn't work out was the commitment of the top management. So if you are doing a very broader transactional view, and there I have the connections to the internationalization speech from Mrs. Werner again, then we have to talk about who else is involved, who can we have to take in, what is the effect, and then I'm coming to the next step, what is the effect also to the tourism area. The stakeholder theory in general is a very broad management theory. What I try to do is first of all try to switch it to the information systems area, and secondly, what is the impact to tourism information systems. Everybody from us traveling right now is looking at an information site. What are the key sightseeing tours, what are the best restaurants, what are the best pubs, where are the best areas to connect to other students, what are the universities, what are the exchange programs. So we get a broad information from the websites, and it's up to us how we want to get involved with it, how we want to do with it. Sometimes we often have the information overkill, not knowing what to do. Then we Twitter, then we go to Facebook, asking our friends what is the best area we can do and find if we want to go out in a new city which we haven't seen and known before. So my research question is very much focusing on trying these two theories together. One of them is the stakeholder theory, and the other one is theory of information systems. So how is the tourism stakeholder relationship management supported by a stakeholder information system? Everybody of us is playing a different role if we do some, for example, traveling. One of us just want to relax, the other ones want to know as much information about the city as possible. The other ones want to have the combinations, the other ones want to make new friends and networking. So depending on our personal stakeholder view, we have different demands on the information system. And therefore the objective of the research is trying really to ask what do we need from our information side, what kind of stakeholders we want to have some information. Do we rely on every information? Do we have to measure the information? And how do I personally come to my own information, to my own complex program, what to do with all the information I have gained over an information system. So the first step what I did, I tried to cluster a little bit the tourism area in 4 major areas. First of all, we have the tourism to tourism area. It's very much on the legal area, from talking about the European Union, on the national level, on the local level. So how can we communicate on this tourism to tourism area? Then we have tourism to travelers. I'm a traveler. I've been last week at the International Conference of European University in Ghent, Belgium. So I'm a traveler. I get some information at the conference, but besides, maybe I want to know more at Ghent University. So I got on the internet, got all the information, learned that the Ghent University is ranked as one of the highest European universities in all the rankings. It had a very intense research area. So as a traveler, I got not only information about the conference, I got information about the Ghent University, I got information about the city of Ghent. So at least here, some context, I could do some downloads about other areas to visit. Then we have different interest groups, tourist to interest groups. Depending if I'm a travel agent, I have different needs for my stakeholders than I'm traveling on my own. Or for examples, do I want to have some art exhibitions? Then I'm doing and looking for it as a stakeholder from the art exhibitions. Like talking to Ghent, they have a little design museum, since Belgium and Ghent area is very highly in designing. And finally, tourism to business, industry driven. What is the impact of tourism to a specific area? How much money do I make? So we still have the shareholder value in all the stakeholder areas, but these are the 4 groups which are necessary really to talk about the stakeholder information system. So what are the networks between tourism to tourism, tourism to traveler, tourism to interest group, and finally tourism to business? So taking this framework as my basic framework, I thought about, well, what is the impact to an information system? It's nice that I know from the stakeholder analysis what are the basic stakeholders, but then I have to go one step further. What is the implication to my decisions? So I come up with a decision cube with different areas. We have 3 axes. On the x-axis you have the just identified stakeholders. Once again, tourism to travelers, tourism to business, and to the interest groups. On the y-axis, we have to talk about a little bit information system theory. What are the different views on interaction? First of all, I just can't just say I want to be informed. The internet or the information systems just wants to inform me. You can look at our website from the Salzburg University of Applied Sciences and just get the information that we have a study program in tourism and innovation management. Fine, you are just informed. And then you see that we have other bachelor and master programs. In the second one, you can talk to, you want to have an advice. You want to get being advised. So what you're doing, you're trying to get in contact with the program directors or with other traveler, or you want to have to see what is the easiest way to come to our campus. Also in advance to this conference, you got some advice how to get here, what is the kind of area. You had a social event last night, what to bring there, what are there any advices you want to know more about one site. And the perfect view would be that you are directly involved. So there is an interaction. Not only getting information, not only getting an advice, but also directly asking that you are involved. For example, in Ghent, I could say what are my preferences for eating, And then I get not only an advice, I was directly involved in communication with the information portal from Ghent, city of Ghent, advising me, getting my iPhone or my smartphone, trying to get where I have to go. Everything is in walking distance. I can just have the QR code, trying to see what is the menu, giving after I have eaten for dinner my choices and telling everybody else, well listen, this was an excellent restaurant, I recommend to go there once again. I met nice friends, or maybe I'm meeting other friends, which are very relevant. And then the other one is the responsibility in an information system. We also have three possibilities. We can do an action, a reaction, or a reaction. So what is the impact between all of this? From the reaction side, I just notice that I can do something. I'm just doing some kind of a reaction. I see I want to do it, maybe it's raining. I just see there are different museums, so from the tourism side I just will then go and visit a museum. From the action side, from the responsibility, I'm the person who is active, trying to get as much information as necessary to plan my trip. And finally, from the information responsibility, I'm proactive. I'm planning the next time to visit the rector of Ghent University. We are exchanging our research areas, trying to get a cooperation set up with Salzburg University of Applied Sciences and Ghent University. So we're doing here a pro-action information and trying to set up everything. Coming up with this, we have, for example, 4 stakeholder groups. We have 3 information system possibilities and 3 action responsibilities, and now we can just play with possibilities. Everybody has a very different role. So if you are designing an information system, you have 4 times 3 times 3 opportunities to getting involved in a stakeholder information system. So when you are on the side programming, designing an information system, it's much more complex, it's much more difficult in designing, but what you have user involvement. You have user acceptance. Probably everybody of you knows information portals where you come in and you say, well, it's boring, you never get the information. Trying to take the time in the stakeholder information, then you get specifically what you personalized want. So this means in order to understand the decision cube, we have to ask the question, what information content do I want? Do I want to have it personalized? Just for me? Just for my needs? So the next time I'm visiting a page, the page already knows who I am and where I want to travel to, and I need a good information support. It's easy to design a homepage in 3 or 4 hours. Trying to get an information taking the stakeholder view into a consideration, it takes you quite a while, maybe up to, if you do all the analysis, to 6 months to 9 months, really to get everything involved. So coming to an example, if you're looking at the Vancouver tourism portal, they have very good, and you're smiling, we have a guest from Vancouver here. They have really designed their tourism information portal from a stakeholder view already. They are describing what is a stakeholder model. So you as a user, when you want to travel to Vancouver, they're telling you what is the impact of a stakeholder to Vancouver. And then you have a navigation through the whole site, depending on your demand, depending on your interaction, depending on your responsibility to get all the information. Looking a little bit closer, they even show you an introduction down here for the information stakeholder model. You get criteria, and on the right side you can just log in depending if you are a tourist, if you are a traveler, if you're a travel agent, if you're doing business there. You have different demands on this kind of area. So they have on the underlying layer, an information system, very sophisticated for the stakeholder view, trying to get everybody involved, and you have the choice what you want to do. From the decision group, you just want to get an information, you just want to get an advice where to go, or you want to go in interaction with the Vancouver tourism agencies and getting a broad range of advices, of information, what to do, depending who you are. And there is a different need. If I'm just there for fun traveling, then I have a completely different view if I want to have business. Then I need business contacts. I need to know where to meet, where's the convention center, where is the Chamber of Commerce. If I'm a tourist, I want to know for the wonderful side of tourism, where can I travel, where can I have a boat ride, maybe I can go to Seattle, maybe I can go somewhere else, flying up to Anchorage, whatever. I have a different need. So talking from the tourism side, I think it's very important in the future to shifting away from only information sides, rather more to a more complex system, even if it takes you more time in order to design it. The literature to this point is a very diverse literature. You're finding lots of information regarding information system and stakeholder information system. What I just want to give you on your way for your discussions this afternoon in the groups, just try to think that there are many ways to look at it, trying to take a stakeholder view and maybe having a look also at the information system from a more broader side, from a more generic side than you did in the future. Well, thank you very much for your attention and giving me time to say something about stakeholder and information systems.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation. So now, let's see if we have any questions from the audience. No questions? Okay, so yes, there is. I expect that we need to have a question.
So one of my PhD students actually is really interested in emergent stakeholders and kind of like the ability to anticipate some of these stakeholder groups that might pop up suddenly. So in the case of tourism, that might be, for example, in a crisis, you have very different kinds of stakeholders to deal with. So how do you design a system that is flexible enough to accommodate these emergent stakeholders?
From the IT side, it's very easy. You just have to have a good head of IT department. Looking at many years ago when you had the SARS infection virus, major travel agents and major tourism agents, they had in minutes, maybe in an hour, all the information online for all the travelers, giving an alert that you should not go to Asia right now, that nobody knows what is the impact of this kind of virus to the general and to the public. You could easily go back and get refunded of your flights. So they had a reaction time of maybe an hour or 2 hours. It didn't work, unfortunately, when we had a tsunami. Right now, the information system, when there is a tsunami, is less than 20 minutes. Right now, they have a highly difficult information system implemented in this kind of area, where you can set the information online in 15 to 20 minutes, that everybody in this area knows what is going on. So reacting time to market, as we say, or time to action, is from the information system side no problem anymore. They are all interlinked, and if you have any special information, I would say we are so much interlinked right now if you have prepared it. I mean, the time is not that I give you. The basic is you have a trigger system. So your information system is working on a trigger system. There is an alert, there is an event which everybody needs to be in information, needs an advice or getting involved. Then you just have to put this information online. And this is just right now a matter of times, or in a company. If a major customer is canceling all the contracts, you can give this information in an hour to all the employees, telling we lost one of our major customers, the reasons are, and so they are informed immediately and they don't have to wait till the next headline, maybe from CNN, for further information. So from the IT side, it's no problem. The problem is if you have not designed your IT system with this trigger concept, then you have a problem. I mean, but from the IT side, it's not the difference. Most of the IT systems didn't think about it. But think about Nestle, the same thing. Nestle was having troubles with the powder milk given to mothers. They brought it to Africa, and they thought, wonderful, if we get this powder milk, it has lots of vitamins. I drink a whole box of milk every day. Because they couldn't read all the information saying you just are allowed to drink 2 glasses per day. Now they have switched everything also in this information area, and Africa is an area where you don't have on every area an information system. So they tried really to do everything very easily, trying even to get the IT infrastructure to areas of hospitals that they can read how much milk and medicine they can drink from their milk from others. And there are more and more examples which you always find.
So thank you. So systems need interoperability is a key issue, and the scalability of all of the systems. Well, you mentioned the content. I think the context is getting more and more important as well. So information, in order to keep information usable, so this information overkill is being mentioned, it can be context sensitive. So in the morning you need different kind of information than in the evening, or if the weather is fine, if the sun is shining, or if it's raining. So in the tourism industry, this information is really interesting, of importance. So context sensitivity is also very important in this case. So thank you very much for your presentation.